Conversation live show. I'm your host, Brigitte Limbanda. I am a live video producer and talk show host. And my guest today is Kasia. She's an international leadership mentor and coach who has worked with many leaders at global international organizations. Don't go away. We'll be right back. If you've just joined us, welcome to the Conversation live show. I'm Brigitte Limbanda. I'm a live video producer and talk show host, and I enjoy creating conversations that showcase brands, entrepreneurs, authors, nonprofits, and social good communities. On the Conversation live show, we provide you with real world insights that empower entrepreneurs, businesses, and executives. My guest today is Kasia of Mindquest. Kasia is an international leadership mentor and coach, and she's worked with many leaders at top global organizations such as the Australian Institute of Marine Science, LinkedIn, Salesforce, Toyota, Stanford University's executive program graduates. She tells us that she's an explorer at heart and brings a global mindset to her work. She's worked globally for 18 years. And 7 years ago, she launched Mindquest Global to help leaders develop the skills that they need in today's modern business environment. Prior to that, she was working in the sciences and IT, monitoring medical trials to ensure patient safety, and then took a regional leadership role in IT, implementing new business systems for Roche Products. All her coaching and mentoring work is done remotely with leaders all over the world. So please help me welcome Kasia. Hi, Kasia, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brigitte. Great to be here with you.
I'm glad to have you too. And I am so excited that we're going to pull back the curtain a little bit and get to know you. Um, so, as a leadership mentor and coach, what exactly is it that you do? A lot of people say they're coaches and mentors. What do you do?
Thanks for that question, Brigitte. It's a great way to start because it always helps to be on the same page, right? When we're talking about different words, different concepts. And I encounter quite a lot of the time that we think we're talking about the same thing when we might not be. So it's a great place to start. And, one of the things that I love about my work as a leadership mentor and coach is the broad scope that I actually have in my work. So, really it is about supporting leaders and coaching leaders to overcome challenges, to manage their stress levels, to develop the most essential skills that they need in today's environment. There's a lot of change that they need to navigate. There's a lot of uncertainty nowadays in business. So it's about really looking at it, from a big picture perspective and looking at what is the most important thing in the situation that they're currently facing. And then we can start to look at where we actually spend most of our time, whether it's on skill development, on tools that they need to develop, themselves, or whether it's an area of focus that we need to look at. So sometimes, there's a lot of distraction for leaders, and just having these regular sessions helps them to maintain the level of focus that they need to really achieve their goals. So there's a lot that goes into it. And, in the end, really what I do is what that person who's in front of me really needs at that moment. So we spend the time on what they feel is the most relevant for them at that moment. And, sometimes I'm able to observe things based on the experience that I've had to also bring that to their attention and explore if that's something that they also want to focus on. Does that help to clarify, or does that,
It
make
does.
it even more confusing?
No, not at all. So, the relationship you develop with your clients is not a one and done thing. It obviously is a long-term relationship. So typically, how long are the programs that you run with your clients?
So I tend to work with clients for a minimum of 3 months with some organizations, if that's what they put forward as an opportunity to my clients. Personally, when I'm working directly with private clients, I don't tend to work with them for anything less than 6 months, because I find that we do need that time, first of all, to really understand what's at the core of, the person that I'm working with. What is it that really makes them tick? What are their drivers, motivators? What are some of the real issues that they're facing? Sometimes people think that they have a certain challenge, and the challenge that they actually start to talk about isn't always the challenge that they're facing. It could be something else that's happening underneath the surface. So it takes a bit of time to really get at that with some clients, and then to actually implement some of the changes that they want to make. It can take a while to, change behaviors and to actually sustain that change. So I tend to, start with something like 6 months up to 12 months. And those are the options that I tend to offer my private clients, because I think that that's what's in their best interest, to form their relationship, because the relationship is such an important part of this, and building the trust and having that sense of confidence in each other as well, to be able to create, what I think sometimes is a really sacred change that they end up making in their lives. And sometimes, it is a more personal change. I had one client that, started talking about professional goals. And then, we realized actually that there was a surgery that she was avoiding having that was creating a lot of chaos in her mind. And we ended up talking on that topic to be able to help her to make a decision around that as well. So, it's hard to predict sometimes exactly how much time will be needed, but definitely a longer term time frame is helpful to make sure that clients get the results that they want and need in their lives.
So I would imagine you sometimes help people unlock things they didn't even know exists.
Yes. Yes, definitely. That happens quite frequently, and it is such a powerful part of coaching, that we do uncover often things that are kind of brushed under the surface, that we don't necessarily want to be honest with ourselves about, but sometimes those things really hold us back from doing the things that we really want to do, and being the best version, the happiest version of ourselves.
So you've coached and mentored people globally over quite a long period of time now. What are the things that you've learned about people?
About people. There's just so much that I could talk about to that question. I guess that the biggest thing is that there are quite a lot of similar themes that, even though we all have different lives, we all have different situations that we're facing, a lot of the themes that come up tend to be quite similar in nature. So it could be challenges around confidence, fears that get in the way. It could be not really understanding what our core values are, and that's, creating a misalignment in our lives. It could be not having the necessary skills as a leader to really be able to make an impact and to bring out the best in your team. So those things come up regularly over and over again with the clients that I've been working with. And I think to me, the most interesting is that it's around the world. It's not just in one country, but around the world, as human beings, working cross-culturally, I tend to see that we have more similarities, I would say, than differences, even though those differences show up on the surface. And I do get clients who, for example, are working cross-culturally. I had a client last week in China who was asking me about working with clients in India. There are differences that are important to consider when working with other cultures. And at the same time, it just amazes me, and it really, it intrigues me when clients, will come up and say that, they're afraid of doing this or that because they're afraid of what people will think of them. That's such a common concern that I see stops people from really being able to do what they'd like to do because of that fear of what others will be saying to them or judging them. And also some of the conditioning that we tend to bring with us depending on where we've grown up culturally. Even though those levels of conditioning are different in different cultures, right, they tend to show up in the same way as blocking us from
you actually took my next question. I was going to ask you, what is it like working across cultures? But you've kind of answered that question, because that was an interesting thing for me, because I wanted to ask you also, in working with the different cultures, and working with men and women, has that been, I imagine it's not a challenge for you any longer because you've been doing it for so long, but are you seeing any differences between coaching men and women across cultures?
Well, I guess the first thing I will say is I absolutely love working across cultures because I just find it really heartwarming to have that opportunity to interact with, people in such an intimate way and to really get to know them when I probably might not have a chance to meet them otherwise. And so it's something that I see as a real privilege. And, in terms of the differences, as I said, cross-culturally, I don't really see that much difference. It's more on an individual basis. But in terms of coaching men and women, again, there's a bit of overlap, but I would say the biggest difference is that women come with a lot of confidence related challenges in, taking new opportunities, in really, again, letting go of that feeling of being judged by others and thinking of what others are perceiving them as when they're doing different things, and really standing up and being a leader. And men, I find, don't really come with those types of challenges. So that's the biggest difference that I see, is the confidence.
Yeah, I can well imagine. I know, for example, I mean, I've spoken to a lot of women in South Africa, who find the boardroom quite a challenging place still. And I think it's because of the language culture, or the culture of the boardroom language is still male dominated. One lady fondly related to me how, every time she's in the boardroom, they'll say, "Gentlemen, can we come to order?" And she's like, "Hello, does that mean I don't have to come to order?" So,
Yeah.
they can feel undermined and disrespected. So I can well imagine that they would need a lot more help in terms of being confident and, raising their hand and saying, I'm here and my voice matters.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. There's definitely an aspect of being more comfortable and assertive in themselves, in ourselves as women. And also, I would speak to the other side of that I really see the opportunity for women to step up as leaders and really own their strengths as women. I would say that we have natural strengths, such as listening. Of course, not everyone, but a lot of women really are great listeners, and they make great coaches. And that is what, is most important in leadership nowadays. The style of leadership in organizations has really, really shifted. And employees really respond to a coaching style of leadership rather than, tell me what to do type of leadership.
Mm.
So that is something that I see women as being really potentially strong at in terms of developing those skills even further and really using them to their advantage to be seen as great leaders of today in our modern world and environment. There's not just one style of leadership or one approach, to leadership, but that coaching approach is what really works. And I've just seen incredible, results from leaders shifting into this approach and becoming comfortable with it and actually applying it. Anything from, engineering leaders, sales leaders, all kinds of different industries. It's not really important. It's just that difference in how they approach their team members, how they listen to them, how they build their own capability and empower them to really bring themselves to work. And that also then tends to tap into the diversity that I find a lot of organizations are pushing for, but don't utilize to, their full advantage. So there's so many aspects of that I think women can really grow into and maximize their natural abilities to a higher level, rather than, feeling that they have to go down the path of trying to be more like a man and behave more like the role models that they see around them.
Right. So when someone enters a coaching program with you, what are some of the benefits they can expect to walk away with when they've completed the program?
Sure. Well, so, again, I guess it will start off depending on what they want to walk away with, because that's usually what we'll start to focus on, is what they actually want to walk away with. What are the outcomes that they want to achieve? So we'll, of course, be intending to make sure that they achieve those outcomes. And at the same time, there are benefits that happen along the way that they don't necessarily expect. So some of the things are, having stronger capability in terms of being able to communicate, to coach, have, higher levels of influence, to be able to better manage their emotions, to regulate themselves in tough situations, to be able to show up more as themselves, rather than thinking they need to put on this mask when they go to work, to manage their stress levels, to bring better balance into their lives. I've worked with quite a lot of women who do struggle with having to manage their career and, kids, and still be able to make a bit of time for themselves to recharge their energy levels. So there's a lot of benefits that they walk away with. I would say that the biggest thing that clients tell me is that they feel lighter and they feel like they're not walking this path alone, that they have someone that they can really trust, and a confidant that they can bounce ideas around with, etc. So the majority of people that I work with really find it to be a beneficial experience.
In terms of your services that you offer as a coach, do you have any specific programs that you're currently making available to clients, or are you not available?
Yeah, so well, it is quite a busy time at the moment, and at the same time, I do have approximately 3 spots right at the moment available for private clients, because I do actually currently work with a couple of global service providers for coaching, and I'm focusing more on really working with private clients at the moment, because I find that their dedication to their own development is so strong, that actually helps me to help them achieve their results, and also really is energizing for me. So that's an area that I'm really wanting to focus more on. So to work privately with me, I'm happy for people to reach out on LinkedIn if they'd like to have a chat and get to know a little bit more about those one-to-one coaching programs. And at the end of September, I am running a Modern Leadership Intensive Coaching for Busy Leaders program. And it's a small group program that I'm facilitating live on Zoom starting September 26th. So if there's interest in that, I'm happy for people to connect and reach out to me to get to know a little bit about it. I've had quite a lot of interest actually in the last week or so. So I'm in the process of answering messages at the moment. I've topped that group at 12 because I really want it to be an interactive program, but I'm happy to open up another cohort and run that alongside. This one that I've scheduled already, it's best for the Americas and Asia Pacific time zones. And then I will look at adding a European Africa time zone as well, if there's enough interest.
Right. So I want to just say a warm welcome to everyone on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Periscope, on Twitter, because those are all the places we are currently live. How can everyone reach out to you if they want to connect with you and they're interested in in coaching or mentoring? Where can they find you and how can they connect with you?
Yeah. So since, I would suggest that LinkedIn is the best place to connect. I am also on Facebook. If you'd like to connect on Facebook, that is an option. And you can also reach me at kasiamindquest@gmail.com if you prefer email.
We can put that in the comments so that it's easy for people to find. Do you have a website? Is your website Mindquest as well?
So I have a website for the course at the moment that I'm running, and I can happily share the link with you as well to put into the comments.
Okay, that'd be great because, the one thing people want to know is, well, how can I connect with you? And your coaching, last question, that your coaching is online. It's not in-person coaching, right? So it means it doesn't matter where people are, you can coach them online.
Yeah. So all of it is global, and I'm available around the world. And that's one of the reasons I decided to focus on actually coaching remotely, is to make sure that people have access all over the world. And even with clients in the same city, I find that they tend to prefer actually to just meet when it's convenient for them. So sometimes we'll actually do it when they are still in their pajamas, or after work. It tends to actually work quite well because it makes our times more flexible for them. So yes, definitely there's no barrier in terms of location. And I find that sometimes actually clients even like to do things over the phone so that they have that privacy of not actually necessarily having to be distracted by video. If it's a really tough situation that they're facing, sometimes they really prefer to have that sense of privacy and focus. So we do whatever they need at that moment.
Well, that's great to know, so that people know it's not the course or the coaching is not cast in stone. It's very personalized and you will adapt according to the situation. Am I right?
Yes, yes. So of course it has to, work for both of us in terms of, what we decide on. But I also bring a very flexible approach, as much as I can, because in this day and age, we really have to have that agility, adaptability, and navigate, a lot of busyness. My clients that I work with tend to travel a lot for their jobs as well, having global or regional roles. So we work with that, and this is what allows us to make it work.
Fantastic. Kasia, it was very nice getting to know you a little bit better and to learn about what you do. And so thank you for introducing us to Mindquest and your services.
Thank you, Brigetti. Thanks for having me. It's been great to be here with you, and I appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about coaching. It's still something that is quite new in today's business world. Google started to implement coaching about 10 years ago, and it's been amazing to see this shift in leadership style, cascade around. Still at the moment, a lot in global companies, but I'm seeing it more and more in smaller businesses and mid-sized businesses, and it's quite amazing to see this shift happen. So I'm glad to be here at this current time in our modern world and work environment.
I know, just gotta love technology. I mean, 10 years ago, you couldn't do what you're doing today on a global scale. So it's phenomenal that we can work across cultures and globally wherever we are. Wherever we've got internet connection or a telephone line is where we can work from.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And, personally, I was born in Poland, grew up in Canada, then lived in Australia for 15 years, then worked remotely from South America. So for me, it was also a way that I could continue to work while expanding my own perspective, and at the same time be able to spend time with family, because they're scattered all over the place as well. And, our current global citizenship environment where a lot of people have that same situation. So it was a way to meet my own needs as well as create that flexibility for our clients as well.
And I think your clients benefit from the fact that you're so well traveled, that you've lived in across different cultures. And so that would add to the dynamics of what you bring to your mentorship and coaching. And I'm sure people appreciate that.
Yes, they definitely do. And, I just recently I had a client in Japan, and I shared with him that I used to go to Japan quite frequently. I think it automatically tends to put people at ease when they know that you've had some experience in their culture. And yeah, it's definitely, something that I feel excited about as well, that opportunity to continue to working with these different clients in a lot of different locations tends to allow me to keep learning and growing as well, and yeah, I love it. I absolutely love the work that I get the chance to do. And, I guess I might just add one difference that I wanted to really point out is the difference between coaching and mentoring. And I do both, but I really want to highlight this difference because there can still be a lot of confusion about what they mean. And a lot of people think that coaching is mentoring. And when they say they coach, they think that they are coaching. But coaching is really about having creative conversations to help people develop their potential. It's really an exploration process, whereas mentoring is much more about guiding based on our own experience. So I do mentor my clients on leadership skills, on coaching skills to help them to implement these as best as they can. But there are many other things that we talk about where coaching is much more suitable, because we can then use the coaching process to help them come up with the best solutions for themselves, rather than me thinking that, I know what's best for them. And in my own career, I came across these situations where I've had people say to me, oh, I think you should do this. I think you should do that. I had someone say, oh, don't go into leadership development because you've got a technical background. I don't think that, that's a good fit for you. And I thought, well, no, I'm going to do this. And I started my own business. And I've had people say, oh, you should, start with a small fish because, you're a small business. Why would you try to even work with global organizations? And I thought, well, that's not really where, I feel like I can make an impact, and I feel that I can work with these global companies and find a way to do that. So sometimes advice can really set us back if we allow it to. So it's important to not allow it become a barrier. And that's where coaching is such a powerful experience for people to overcome any barriers that they might see or that others might throw at them, and to come up with creative solutions. And, I see it as a real learning adventure.
Sorry, can I ask you one last question? So people who are already coaches or mentors, do you work with them to hone in on their skills that they already have as well?
So, I would say that a lot of the leaders that I work with in organizations, they already mentor. And we tend to focus more on helping them develop their coaching skills to really become the best leaders that they can be. So in that capacity, I do. And then I do have some clients that are coaches and mentors that I work with if they choose to go down that path. But my broadest, client base are leaders in organizations. So I would say that yes and no is the answer to your question.
So it's more sharpening their coaching skills.
For leaders at organizations, it is about sharpening and developing their coaching skills. So I do work with them to implement their coaching skills. Sometimes they've attended a coaching course, but they haven't had that chance to actually implement. And a lot of companies actually do training at HSBC Bank on coaching skills for managers. But then when they go away, they don't necessarily have the support to implement that skill set. So that's the kind of work that I do for leaders, not professional coaches.
Ah, gotcha. Thank you for clarifying that, so that everyone watching does know that as well. Kasia, thank you so much.
Thank you
Enjoyed
for
having this conversation with you.
Me too. Thanks again for having me. It's been a pleasure. Have a great evening in Cape Town.
Thank you. Thank you. So to everyone who's joined us live today, thank you so much. And if you're watching this on the replay, thank you for watching and thank you for sharing. And so from Cape Town, it's goodbye for now.
Yeah.